In the last video we looked at strings and printing out different variables within print statements. In this video we're going to look at some other data types. So again, just to recap on strings, I can say name is equal to, and this has to be a string, so I'm going to say name is equal to Wayne Rooney. Inside double quote marks, that is defining the name variable is equal to the value Wayne Rooney. Some more data types we've got. The first one is an int, which basically is just short for just means that it's a whole number. So age equal to, let's say, 27, and there's no quotes needed for this. If we did have it inside quotes, we would be creating it as a string, which means we can print it out easily, but it means we can't do calculations with it, as we can't do calculations with strings. I might say weight, and his weight in kg might be equal to 72 kg, maybe something along those lines, 72.5. And this is an example of a float data type, and the main difference between a float and an integer is that a float has a decimal point. And the last one we're going to look at is called a boolean. So I'm going to say legend equals to true, and this is a boolean, and it's important that it's spelled with a capital T. So booleans can basically hold true or false, and we use them mostly for control within while loops and when we're getting into more complicated development of computer programs. But for now, you just need to know that it holds the value either true or false. So we're going to say legend is a boolean and the value is equal to true. Now, when it comes to actually accessing and printing out these variables and these data types, we will get into some difficulties. So just quick recap: print out a string. I'm going to say his name is space, and again plus, very important to include the plus. Name, now this one's going to work out fine because we're printing out a string, so there's no problems. Where we get into difficulties is when we start typing out integers or floats or booleans, i.e. data types that are not strings. So print, and then I'm going to say his age is, I'm going to say plus age, I'm going to say plus years old. Now we would expect this to work, but it is going to give us an error. And it's important that when we do get these syntax errors, or these type errors, sorry, that we actually read to say what it says. And in the bottom line is saying print, it's saying struggling with this line, and the error is can't convert int object to string implicitly, which basically means that Python cannot simply print out an integer. Now the integer that we've got in this line is obviously age, because it's equal to 27. It's not a string, it's an integer. And to get around that, what we can do is we can use the string function, or str, and all that does is it converts an integer or boolean or float into a string. So it takes the value of the integer age, which is 27, and converts it into a string, which means we can then print it out. And same idea, we can do that now for print. He, again inside quote marks, he weighs space plus weight plus kg. And again, it's going to give us another mistake. It's going to tell us that can't convert float object to string implicitly. So what we need to do is convert the float, which in this case is weight, because it's got a decimal point. And again, just to convert, we use the str function, put the actual variable name inside the brackets. So that's going to convert the float value of 72.5 into a string, which will then allow us to print it out. And then same idea for print. Let's see how we do this. We'll say is he a legend question mark, and space there, plus g and d. So it's looking for this to print out the value assigned to the legend variable. But again, that is going to give us a mistake, saying that we cannot simply convert a boolean object to string. So what we need to do in the same way as we've done with the other ones is to convert that into a string. So what that's doing is it's finding the value assigned to the float, to the boolean, to the float, to the integer, and it's converting it into a string so that it will print out without error. So that's useful to bear in mind when it comes to developing programs later on. That's some of the common errors you will get. So it's worthwhile remembering you can't print out ints, floats, or booleans without first converting them to a string. There's different ways we can do that. This way is fairly straightforward, and it's worth bearing in mind. It's also important to remember this type error can't convert int object to string implicitly or float object to string. If you get this type of error message, you'll know that you're trying to print out something which isn't a string. So it's important we can look at that. So that is when it comes to printing out the different data types, but what are the benefits of each one? So first of all, let's look at, obviously, calculations are very useful. So if I wanted to say 5,000 divided by, which is / and 2, then Python, that's just going to do that very quickly and easily for me. I can give it a massive number divided by another massive number, which would take me a long time to work out. Python can do that calculation very, very quickly. As well as divide, we can also multiply. So I can say 5, and in Python, the multiply sign is the star. So 5 times 34 very quickly gives me the answer. Let's multiply as divide. Plus 2 is just very simply the plus sign. And take away is simply the take away sign. Any other interesting ones might be modulus, which gives us the remainder. So if we've got the value 99 and we say modulus, which is the percent sign, and we want to, what this does, it will divide it by 10 and it will give us the amount which is left over, which can be useful. So you'll see 99 divided modulus 10, 9 goes into 10 goes in the 99 times, and 9 is left over. So this value equals to the remainder which is left over on the last calculation. So again, that can be quite useful, and it's also worth to consider that we can have a is equal to, so we can have a variable called a which is equal to 34. We can have b is equal to 29. And we can have c is equal to a plus b. Now if I type in c, it's going to give me out the answer. And again, we can also use these within print statements. So I might say print the total of a plus, which is going to be inside this as a string, plus b, with another, I'm just going to type in equals value plus c. So what it's going to do, this print statement is going to print out the total of a plus b is equal to, but obviously this is still going to give us a mistake because we haven't as of yet converted to a string. So we now have to convert these values to strings using str, putting the variable name inside the parentheses, and this should allow us to print it out. And press enter. The total of 34 plus 29 is equal to 63. So again, same sort of way, we can create variables and assign them to integers or floats or booleans or whatever, and then we can print them out or do calculations with them as we wish.